Enter the Gungeon is a genuinely phenomenal game. It's a roguelike with all sorts of weapons and items and stuff, and the enemies as well are all very varied and fun to fight against. But so, it has a lot of secrets as well, I should mention that too, and unlockables, which make you keep coming back, even though the game is already fun enough without those to keep you coming back anyway. But so they made a sequel called Exit the Gungeon, and I'm gonna go into depth today how it stacks up when compared to the original game. Okay? So Exit the Gungeon was announced, and it was announced as a mobile game available on Apple Arcade. This was a sign. But hey, mobile games can be pretty fun. Oh, there are a lot of good ones, so Exit the Gungeon could be good, right? Right? Well, Exit the Gungeon takes the items and characters from the original game and it makes it a platformer instead. Now, I'm not opposed to this idea. In fact, I think the idea of converting Enter the Gungeon into a platformer game is actually pretty cool on paper, but the execution of it is really, really bad. So when you think of a roguelike platformer, you probably think of Spelunky, and they did not go for that approach here. In fact, this game is barely even a roguelike to begin with. Each of the levels that every character has are consistent. They don't change. The only thing that's different is that sometimes different enemies appear, and you might get a different boss at the end of each floor. But that's it. They get the same floors each time. And after beating the game with that character, then you unlock the ability to use those floors with other characters. And so what's even the point of each character having their own unique set of floors? What's the point? I don't get it. But even then, there's not even an option to randomize which floors you get. You have to pick a specific set based off of one of the characters. And I think that's really, really stupid because it makes the game really boring and predictable. What doesn't help is that the only floor that's unique to a specific character is the second floor of the pilot. He is the only character who has a floor that it doesn't appear on anybody else's route. And even then, the final floor is the same for every single character. Did they just get lazy here? Did they forget, or did they not have time to do more stuff for the final floor? It's like really okay. That's just boring. The closest thing it has to a roguelike are the rooms that you can get about halfway through and at the end of each floor that you can enter and fight some enemies in for some extra money, and occasionally a chest will show up. But even then, these aren't the main part of the game. They're completely optional. And sometimes they're not even available. Like sometimes a door is collapsed, and sometimes an NPC is there instead. And what also doesn't help is the fact that the you won't really get any unique runs in this game. Unlike in the original, where you'll get different items and different guns and stuff. In this game, first off, there are no active items in this game. They opted to use power-ups instead that appear randomly, and you get them, and they give you an item temporarily. But there are no active items that you can store and use from your pocket. And I think that's pretty lame. But also, the guns, they're random. You know the enchantress in the first game, where you could pay her money so that you could play a mode where your gun randomly transforms into other guns. Well, that's this entire game. And you might think, okay, well, I can use the other gun mode where guns will drop as items and require ammunition, right? So then you play that mode, and then it turns out your gun still transforms anyway. So what even was the goddamn point? If I wanted, like, what if I wanted to have a consistent gun? What if I just wanted to use my starter weapon? I don't have the option to do that, and I don't like that at all. I think the fact that the game forces you to play with random guns is just so it's annoying, really. Especially, all things considered, when you're just blasting away at enemies and then suddenly you get Casey or quad laser, and you can't hit any of them unless you get point blank. It's annoying. I would rather have the option to just play with my starter weapon and be able to pick up guns along the way. But even then, there aren't nearly enough guns to justify it being random because you'll end up using the same gun several times on each floor. And, like, seriously? Once again, also, you being forced to use random guns, it makes it so that you can't strategize around what guns you have at all. But you can't really strategize around what items you get anyway because the items in this game just you get enough money to buy most of them. Just buy whatever it is that shows up as long as it's not an amulet. That's it. That's how you play the game. The game is so easy that you will win every time if you do that. You can just shoot in the general direction of enemies and be fine. But also, as this is a platformer, your dodge roll, you can actually do a jumping dodge roll. But you're invincible for the entire duration of the jump. So you just jump all the time and you'll never get hurt. You can't shoot while jumping, which is at least an attempt to balance it out. But still, all you need to do is jump and it gives you several seconds of invulnerability. It's so broken. And it makes the game feel very, very monotonous because you just jump over every enemy's attacks. And the completion requirements. Oh, don't even get me started on the completion requirements. So for the NPCs that you unlock, what you have to do is you have to just see them enough times and talk to them so that eventually they say that they want an item. And then you play one of the Winchester or golf games and you get that item by hitting a balloon that's on the field with the things you launch. And then you just wait until you see that NPC again and you give them that item. It's so boring. Like, why did they think this was a good idea? And for every NPC, too, like, you couldn't have made it different? I mean, Frightful and the Grey Mausoleer from the first game were also pretty boring, but at least you never had to go out of your way to get what they wanted. It's so stupid. And you have to, the fact that you have to not only see the NPC enough times for them to request the thing of you, but you also have to be able to find the game that gives you the item, and you then have to still see the NPC afterwards. It's so annoying. It's just a hassle. The variety of enemies in this game is not nearly as good as the variety of enemies in the original game. There aren't nearly as many in this game. And the ones that are in, all except for one, unless I misremembered and it turns out he was actually in the first game, are just the same as enemies from the first game. And they're just basic enemies. That's it. Not even the really, really interesting ones or anything. And the bosses also, they're not really fair. They just require you to already know how they work before you can accurately dodge them. That isn't to say that all of them are bad. Medusa Lear and I Balrog are actually good, but that's it. They're the only two. I think the fact that they decided to combine the two final bosses, the two universal final bosses, I mean, from the original game for the final boss, I actually think that idea is cool, but once again, you just jump and you'll be fine. And the fact that his grenade heart is visible is also a distraction, considering the fact that the high dragon, you shot him in the heart in the original game, so I at first shot there thinking that that's where it's supposed to hit him, which is bullshit. And there is one secret boss as opposed to the original game's 5 secret bosses. And this secret boss, it's just bullet spam. It's just spam. It's not well designed, it's just spam. How lame. The fact that the guns are random also means that the characters fail to stand out from each other, with the only ones that actually stand out being Cultist because he switches guns faster than everybody else, and Robot because of his health mechanic where he can only have armor. But all the other 5 characters all just blend into each other, and you might as well just play as Pilot because you get shop discounts. That's it. So you'll beat the game on your 3rd try, most likely, and at that point the novelty wears off. Because the first 2 tries, you're just getting used to the controls, so it makes sense that you're going to die. But after that, you will never die on this game, ever. It is actually just that easy. And honestly, I think that this game fails on every conceivable level to be a roguelike. And also just to be a sequel to Enter the Gungeon in the first place. It's not worthy of the name of being a sequel to Enter the Gungeon. I don't know how this happened, but it's not good. And completing it was not fun. But I mean, I still got a platinum trophy on it, but that's just because I like collecting platinum trophies. I mean, I got one for Security Breach, and that's the worst game I've ever played. So, I mean, yeah, I me having a platinum trophy on a game doesn't necessarily mean it's good. But yeah, this game isn't good. I mean, maybe if you could buy it for like $2, it would be fine. But no, it's like 15. So that's not good. That's way overpriced, and the game isn't good. So good night, everybody.